Well, we all know that Richard Neal from Springfield in the 2nd Congressional District has a challenger. His name is Tom Wesley, and Tom's been a guest on the show before. Just for your own edification, the district goes from Florence all the way down to Milford. Yeah, that's got nothing to do with gerrymandering by the Democrats, right? Well, I wanted to see some good debates between Tom Wesley and Richard Neal. I think everybody knows how I feel about Richard Neal. But he doesn't want to do any town meetings. And the Wesley campaign has put together a little video on Facebook. Why don't you just take a listen to this? This is Richie Neal back in 2005, out in California, taking to task then President Bush over town meetings.
If you wish to speak, you come in and you stand up and you ask questions. That's what the town meeting is about. So when I watch the president's town meetings, I want to tell you something. They're not town meetings. Because you have to be like-minded to participate. Since when is that a dialogue with the American people?
And it continues to say that on October 4th, Tom Wesley's campaign asked Congressman Richard Neal to do 5 town hall style meetings, and he refused. Joining me now, the Republican candidate for the 2nd congressional seat, Tom Wesley. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm splendid.
So no town hall meetings.
Well, you know, I must say that they decided they go back to the drawing board and they're going to delay until Thursday to come up with some answers. But, you know, there's logistics involved here. It takes time to put these things together.
Yeah.
So I'm not certain we're going to get 5. I doubt we'll get 5. You may not get any. But I do think it's telling that the congressman is trying to avoid a format where people can actually ask questions from the audience.
He doesn't like that, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not carrying your water here. He doesn't like it. He did a town hall meeting the summer before last over health care with Congressman McGovern at UMass.
Outside the district, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he got his clock cleaned. And they showed up on Jordan's show after. And it looked like they had just gotten out of downtown Beirut. He doesn't want anything to do with that. He doesn't. In that, he talks about direct access with people, and you let anyone in. Yeah, when it suits you, you do, Richard Neal. And this is why I call him Slippery Neal, because he won't do this now. I guarantee you won't get an open format town hall meeting where anybody can walk in. I guarantee you that right now.
Well, that seems to be the direction we're heading in. We'll hold out some hope, and we'll try and increase the heat here. And we've talked about the potential of getting onto radio and having sort of if it's not a town hall, let's pretend it's a kitchen table. You know, we all grew up talking politics and talking sports or talking whatever we do around the family table or with your friends, and you play with the sugar bowl and you move the sugar from one side of the bowl to the other and do all those sorts of things. And that's the kind of conversation I'd like to have with him as well. Just an open, freewheeling debate, freewheeling conversation without a lot of format. You know, we do have a television debate scheduled on October 15th, which is exclusively out in the Springfield area.
Yeah,
right now.
see, that's, you know, because the district is so gerrymandered, having that on Channel 22 in Springfield, I can tell you right now that the county south of Worcester and heading to Milford will have no access to that debate whatsoever. So I won't. You know how I'll have to watch it? My house out in Agawam, I'll have to remember to go home and program the DVR to record it, or I'll have to ask my old colleagues at Channel 22 to cut me off a copy of it so that I can see it.
Well, I'm sure we'll pop it onto our website, but that does limit the access, certainly, and that's a concern about us because, you know, you look at the district. I've got my own little training aid here. You know, my left hand, if you put your palm towards you, kind of looks like the district with Northampton at the thumb and the heel of your hand is Springfield and Agawam, and not by the tips of your fingers is really Route 495. That's a pretty big district, and it has no single media source. And so what we've been trying to do is to encourage the congressman to meet us around the district. So certainly have some Springfield connectivity out there, and we've got that now with a couple of stations that are willing to host. I know WTAG has been willing to host radio on-air debate.
We have.
We have all sorts.
And I'll make sure. I'll make sure that everybody knows how I feel about Neal. So I'll make sure I have nothing to do with it. I'll make sure that Jordan or someone else does it, so that he won't be able to say, "Well, you got Polito in there, and he doesn't like me anyway," with good reason, by the way. But I'll do that. We'll make ourselves available, but I don't think I doubt very much he's going to do it. The less he debates, the better off he is in the race.
Well, it's time to stand up and defend the record, and he hasn't had an opponent in 6 elections. That's now 14 years, and so here's the first time to actually sit down and talk with a challenger, and I think a viable challenger, by the way, and he won't do that repeatedly. And so I think that's a real issue for the people in this district, particularly the people out here in the Worcester County side of the district that don't see Richard Neal all that frequently and don't have an opportunity to talk with him. And he hasn't had a town meeting since that ill-fated one with Jim McGovern.
That's been over a year.
Well, it's April of 2009. And I ran across a constituent this weekend who said they had called his Milford office and said, will the congressman be having a town hall meeting, not even a debate, but having a meeting before the election? And the answer was, well, no, he won't. And this person said, well, doesn't he want to hear what we have to say? And reportedly, the individual in the office said, no, he doesn't. So it sort of seems that way, and all I'm looking to do is to bring some representation to the people here in the 2nd Congressional District, irrespective of where you sit, whether you're in Worcester County side, the Hampden County side. To me, my business career, I've always treated my customers as being equidistant. So if the phone rings and someone says, "Tom, I need you," I just as soon hop on an airplane to go to Washington, D.C., or out to California, or out to London, because all customers have needs, all customers are equidistant. And I think the same thing is true of constituents, whether they're up in Northampton, Agawam, or Hopedale, where I live. They deserve that kind of treatment.
Well, you know what, Tom? Let's get back to business here. Tom Wesley, the candidate for Congress, facing off against Richard Neal, who's run unopposed for over a decade. And Tom, you are the Republican. You've done some internal polling, and I know that internal polling is not scientific. It's just basic. It gives you a feel for what's going on. What are you finding out from your internal polling?
Well, what's interesting is we're watching now that we're phoning unenrolled people, and we have a very sophisticated phone banking system. It helped us win the primary. We're leveraging it heavily for the general election now. And what we're seeing is that the unenrolleds are beginning to make decisions. And what was 50% undecided has now become only 40% undecided, has become 38% undecided. And those, after we speak with them, so that's the caveat, are breaking about 80-20 in favor of me over the incumbent Richard Neal.
Really?
Yeah, so we're very, very pleased with that number. And of course, we can't extrapolate that across the wide spectrum of people. But what it does tell us is that it validates the message that we've been heralding now for, my goodness, 16 months we've been on the campaign trail. I must tell you, when I hear you offering tickets to people to go to Holy Cross football games, I start to pine for the good old days when I had normal weekends. But we're getting down to the last 28
You're getting
days.
Down to the wire here.
27 days in a wake-up, as I used to say when I was in the Navy. So that's how many days we've got left to the election. And we're very pleased with where those polls, or where that polling information is taking us. We probably won't have the money to run an official poll, and it really doesn't matter. I think we have a very clear choice. There's only 2 candidates in this race, the incumbent Democrat and the new fresh face in politics, myself, as the Republican.
Well, Congressman Neal has been running ads. I mean, he can outspend you, I guess, what, 20-1? I mean, I'd
like to close it to 20-1.
He's got some serious money, and that comes from doing things like spend a weekend with Richie Neal down at the Cape for $5,000.
What does it cost to go to Palm Beach with you?
It doesn't cost anything.
Oh, that's the kind of thing that.
And you know what? And if you don't want to spend a second with me, you don't have to. That's the way we run these trips. I say, if you want to hang out with me, that's fine. If you don't, have at it. I'll see you on the plane. I'll see you on the plane on the way home. No, it doesn't cost a bit. And I'm not going to. You know what? You're not going to have to try and lobby me there, and I'm not going to try and lobby you. But Richie Neal's got a lot of lobby money, and he's been doing these fundraisers because he wants to take over Ways and Means, a very powerful committee, and the Democrats may lose the House.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah. So Richie will be, if he's reelected, he won't have any way to get that post. It'll go to somebody else.
Well, bite your tongue. I don't intend to have him
right.
reelected. But yes, you're absolutely right. Isn't that ironic for the last 4 years that Richard Neal has really towed the party line exclusively, and at, I think, great cost to this district. And it's not going to come to fruition. This is really a sort of an example of Greek tragedy, isn't it? It's the tragedy brought on by himself. It's going to cost
the tragic
the
flaw. They call it the tragic flaw. Yeah, and it will. Well, one can only hope. And again, full disclosure here, folks. Everybody knows I don't like Richie Neal, personally and professionally. Those commercials, though. I mean, I have that place out in Western Mass, and last weekend it seemed like all of these Neal signs sprouted out in Western Mass. I often see yours, Repeal Neal, and Tom Wesley signs, but all of a sudden there's all these Neal signs all over the place, boom, 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 coming up.
When I talk to people out in the Springfield area, the greater Springfield area, and they know Richard Neal as a brand, really. They've known him as a mayor and a city councilor, and certainly as their representative. And they said, boy, this is really a tough road to hoe for you, Tom. I said, well, that's true where we're talking, if it's out in Springfield. But I said the half-life of that brand diminishes rapidly as you approach Sturbridge and as you get into east of Sturbridge and out towards where I am. I said, would you believe that we're actually seeing Neal bumper stickers and Neal yard signs? And looking, I said, well, no, he's never done that. And I said, well, it's happening out in my way. And that's been about 6 weeks now. But as you say, there are now signs cropping up even in his own backyard. And that was probably his formerly very secure area.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of the things, I didn't know him before he was a congressman, so I don't know whether it's a chicken or egg situation, whether being a congressman and having that seat made him a pompous blowhard, or he was just a pompous blowhard to begin with. I kind of think it's a little of both, but he's advertising on Boston television stations, because I see them on Boston stations. He's advertising on our cable system here, Charter, and inserting his commercials into things like CNN, Fox, those channels. He's inserting his commercials in there, so he's spending a boatload. I used to be in advertising, and I haven't done a real study of it, but I can just tell by what he's running there and the consistency of the ads. He's spending a boatload of money on advertising and TV advertising.
We won't have that kind of money to counter those ads. And the good news is, though, that money doesn't vote. People do. We can certainly use more money in this campaign, and we'd love to get the word out to more people, because as many people as I speak with in this district, there are 630,000 of them, and I can't talk to every one of them. But I do, want to get that word out. And I talk about this. Remember last year we had the great pandemic scares, right? And I refer to this as a mandemic. And what we need is we need people to talk in a citizen-to-citizen way and say, hey, look, I've met Tom Wesley. He's a good guy, and here's what he stands for. His mother loves him. And this is the sort of person we want to send to Congress, and let's repeal Richard Neal and send Tom there. And that's what we're looking to do, citizen to citizen. And we're seeing that message is spreading very, very well throughout this district. And I'm amazed and very gratified when I go into senior centers, for example, and in places where Richard Neal is well known. And people will say, it's time. It's just time. And it's not a personal assault on Richard Neal from my perspective. It is just time. It would take career politicians out of the mix. And he certainly has had his run, his time, and I don't think we're any better for it at this point. Well,
Tom, I want to thank you so much. Quickly, before we go, we've only got about 10 seconds. Where can people get more information?
Well, always the best place to start, thank you, is TomWesley.com. It's our website with all the icons on there through Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Now we have an online store. We have ways of making calls from home. We have all sorts of interesting things there, TomWesley.com.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. We'll have you back soon, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.